In the heart of an ancient kingdom, they forged a crown from the blood of saints and the iron of war. They called it the crown of fire and faith. But the people whispered another name, the iron crown of curses. It was meant to unite a broken realm, yet the forge fire never cooled. Those who dared to wear it were consumed by it. Our story begins on a winter dawn in the year 1432, when King Aldrich of Veillon stood before his throne, a man born from prophecy, yet bound for ruin. The chronicles describe him as a monarch of iron resolve, whose eyes burned brighter than the crown he would wear. But even iron bends when heated by ambition. Aldrich inherited a kingdom divided by famine and betrayal. His father's death left the court in shadow. Nobles sharpened daggers behind closed doors. To them, the coronation was not a sacred ritual. It was a battlefield in disguise. The archbishop warned him, "The iron crown has taken more souls than it has anointed." But Aldrich only smiled. "Then let it take mine, if it dares." They say the church bells began to tremble before dawn. When the day of coronation arrived, snow blanketed the cathedral roof, yet the air inside burned. Every torch flared higher, as though drawn by an invisible wind. The iron crown had not been touched in 40 years. Some say it remembered every scream it had heard before. As Aldrich walked the aisle, his armor whispered like chains. His breath clouded the frozen air. The people knelt, but not from reverence. They knelt because fear weighs heavier than faith. Then came the moment the world seemed to hold its breath. The archbishop raised the iron crown high and placed it upon the king's head. The sound came first, like fire catching dry wood. Then the smell, iron and ash. Witnesses claimed the crown began to glow red, and the king did not move. Flames licked through his robes, consuming silk and flesh alike. The court cried out, but no one dared touch him. To remove the crown, they said, was to challenge God himself. By the time the flames died, the crown had fused to his skull. His eyes, once bright with command, stared hollow into eternity. The archbishop fell to his knees and whispered, "The curse is fulfilled." But the story did not end there. Some say the fire never truly went out, that the iron crown continued to burn, unseen, in the vaults beneath the cathedral. Others claim the curse sought new flesh to inhabit. Years later, a scribe recorded a chilling account. At midnight, the crown's metal would breathe, as though alive, and if one stood too close, they would hear a voice that called itself Aldrich. Historians dismissed it as myth, but when the cathedral's crypt was excavated in 1794, they found a skeleton seated upon a throne, and the skull was still wearing iron, welded tight by time and fire. And yet, this was only the beginning of the Iron Crown's tale, because what they uncovered beneath that throne would reveal a darkness older than any king. For centuries, the Iron Crown slept beneath the cathedral, buried beneath marble, guarded by silence, forgotten by kings who feared its touch. But history, like fire, has a way of rekindling itself. In 1526, during the rebuilding of Veillon's cathedral, a mason struck something hard beneath the altar. He thought it was a buried relic until he saw the faint outline of a crown fused into the skull of a man sitting upright. When they lifted it into daylight, the iron bled rust, like dried blood awakening. Within days, strange things began to happen. Tools vanished, candles burned black. One of the masons was found kneeling before the relic, his hands clasped in prayer, his eyes burned white as bone. The bishop sealed the relic once more, commanding that it never be spoken of again. Yet, curiosity is the oldest sin. When word reached the scholars of the capital, one man defied the order to study it. A historian named Elias Corvin, whose obsession would echo Aldrich's own. Corvin's notes, preserved in the royal archives, speak of a chilling discovery, that the Iron Crown was not forged for kings at all, but for penance. The original forge lay in the ruins of Saint-Ardan's monastery, built atop a pagan altar where human offerings once burned. The monks believed they could sanctify the site by forging a relic from the ashes of sin, but the metal they used was taken from the shackles of the condemned. Corvin wrote, "Iron remembers pain. It holds the memory of every scream." And when Aldrich's crown was forged from that very metal, the screams awoke. No one knows how Corvin died, only that his last letter ended mid-sentence. "The crown breathes when the torches die." When the guards entered his chamber, they found the crown resting beside him. The parchment beside it was scorched into ash, except for a single Latin phrase, ignis regnat, the fire reigns. In time, the story of Aldrich became legend. The Iron Crown vanished once more, smuggled away during the wars that tore Bayonne apart. But centuries later, it reappeared in the unlikeliest of places. Displayed behind glass in the Imperial Museum, it drew crowds from every corner of the realm. But one evening, the guards found the display case shattered from within. The glass had melted, not broken, and in the ashes nearby, the faint outline of a human hand. Since then, the Iron Crown has become a ghost of history, appearing in forbidden auctions, in whispered rumors of collectors who dream of kingship and end in fire. Every time it surfaces, another palace burns. Every century, another name is added to its list. Some historians say there is no curse, only the human need to believe that power has a price. But faith and fear are twin fires, and both have burned kings alive. They say that if you stand in the ruins of Bayonne's cathedral at midnight and whisper Aldrich's name 3 times, you'll hear the sound of iron cooling in the dark, and the faint crackle of fire beginning again. No crown lasts forever. Not of gold, not of iron, not of fire, but the desire to wear one, that endures beyond every grave. Perhaps the curse of the Iron Crown was never the fire itself, but the men who believed they could master it. And maybe, somewhere in the ashes of time, the crown still waits for another king who dares to believe he won't burn. History still whispers if we dare to listen.